The technology I'm going to show you in this video today is going to change the game development industry forever. I know I've been saying that a lot in many of my videos recently, but unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it's true. And I personally believe that the year 2025 is probably going to be one of the most life-changing years any of us have experienced as this technology and technology like it continues to spread everywhere, not even just in the game development industry, but everywhere. If you are interested in this kind of technology and you want to stay on top of things, I highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel. Because, crazy enough, we are still only at the beginning of this entire story arc of technology like this entering the industry. And I think the next couple of months are going to be absolutely insane, even compared to the last 10 years of technological progress that we have seen in the game industry. So if you want to stay in the know on all that stuff, press that subscribe button and definitely enable notifications. But today, we are going to be talking about Unity Muse. Now, Unity Muse is an artificial intelligence project that is not a plugin. This is not a third-party system. This is an official feature being developed by Unity as a part of the Unity engine. And yes, it is AI powered. And yes, it can do a lot. Now, what Unity Muse has the ability to do is all of the normal things that you would expect from an AI large language model, but it can also do significantly more. So, similar to the Unreal Engine plugin I was showing before, it does actually have a chat window inside of the Unity engine that you can talk with. It can teach you how to make games. It can tell you features that the game engine has. I mean, from a learning standpoint, it's very effective, and most importantly, it is content aware. So unlike ChatGPT, where you're going in there, copying and pasting, and it can't see your files, Unity Muse has direct access to not just your game engine, but your project. So when you ask it a question, it is going to give you an answer based on the project that it is looking at with you. So that is just the starting point. It has a chat window inside of Unity itself, and that chat window, when you talk with it, is aware of what you were trying to build. But if you want to go beyond that, it can do a lot more. It can generate two-dimensional sprites. So if you want an icon, if you want a two-dimensional character, it can create that. It can also generate PBR materials. If you need a rock texture, if you need a wood texture, it will generate that PBR, and it will actually implement it onto whatever surface you are trying to generate that texture for. It can also generate AI logic. And this is actually an interesting thing because, you see, I know there's a lot of people who don't like AI, but the funniest thing is AI, at least the term AI, has been around for a long time. When you play Call of Duty, well, there's AI. Any NPC is technically an AI. Now, it's very different from a large language model. A large language model is a different kind of AI, but in many ways, they're still the same. However, the reason I'm making this distinction is because Muse actually has the ability to generate AI behavior trees for NPCs in Unity. So if you want to generate a character that has specific types of behavior, you can utilize a text prompt in order to give that character inside of that game specific types of behavior, and it will generate the logic for that AI to behave in that way. In addition to that, Muse also has the ability to generate animations, character animations, and this is based off of text or even other ways to elicit different types of generation. If you want to type in, hey, make me a sword animation, it can do that, but it probably won't be the sword animation you want. So as this technology advances, you are going to be able to do different types of things in order to elicit more specific responses, similar to what I would think people see from generative video where you type in a text prompt and it creates something of that nature versus video to video where you give a video generator a video to base itself on, and with that you have significantly more control over what the output is going to be. AI-based animation generation is going to be similar. If you want to just use a text prompt and say, hey, make a sword swinging just generally, it will make 1,000 different types of sword swinging animations. But if you maybe take your iPhone and say, hey, I literally want you to do it like this, it will do it like that. That is where we are going to. And in general, this is going to be a full seamless Unity editor integration that is going to have real-time preview, and you are going to be able to manipulate your scenes directly before and after the AI generates anything in the engine. So instead of having to generate something on the outside in a web browser or whatever and then import that thing, no, it's all contained. You sit there, you say what you want, it makes it. This is real. This was announced over a year ago, and they are releasing new updates to it as of a couple months ago. And like I said, 2025, we're not even in 2025 yet. So trust me when I say this isn't just the beginning. We're still before the beginning. The next couple of months are going to be absolutely insane. Now, before we go any further, I want to say that I know that a lot of you are concerned about this technology. There are many of you who are game developers who have been practicing some of these skills for many, many years. And for those people, I want to say a few things. First off, if you have concerns and you want to talk with me about those concerns, I actually have a link down in the description. You can book a one-on-one call with me. You can tell me the kinds of things that you are concerned about. You can ask me the kinds of things you want to know in terms of AI, and I will share my knowledge with you. And I will also try to help you understand where I think the industry is going so you can better prepare yourself. Now, before anybody asks, what's the catch? How do I have the ability to meet with anybody who wants to book a meeting with me? I am an instructor for an online academy where you can pay money in order to get access to courses that teach you a lot of these things. During that call, I will ask you to join that academy. A certain percentage of you will say yes, and that's how I'm able to afford having those calls. However, the call itself is free. I will tell you anything you want to know about AI and game development. So, before we even move on to what I'm about to say next, just know that is an option. But that leads me to what I'm about to say next, which is this. I think AI is going to have a massive fundamental impact on the game development industry and, quite frankly, everything else. I do not think it's going to be the end of the world. I don't think it's going to be the end of everything. I do think it's going to cause problems in the same way that computers have caused problems. But I think that it is also going to open up opportunities that not only have never been possible before, but I think that we desperately need to have in order to move forward as a society, as, I don't know, a species. I know that sounds very Elon Musk to say, but it's true. The price of making video games is going to be significantly lower. Quite frankly, the price of making anything is going to be significantly lower. This is not just going to impact the game development industry, but this channel is going to primarily focus on the game development industry because this channel is about game development. So we're going to focus on our little niche here. But we have to ask ourselves, if that is what is coming, what does that mean? If the cost of developing games is going to plummet and be slashed by 10, 100-fold, what is that going to mean? And as someone who isn't just a game developer, as someone who isn't just a YouTuber, but also as someone who is getting their graduate degree in machine learning, specifically to try and learn more about that very question, this is my thought process so far. Whenever there is a period like this, where suddenly difficult things become easier, you have to set the bar higher. And this is what I tell everyone who is a student in my academy. This is what I tell, quite frankly, everybody that I meet. Over the next couple of years, there is going to be an explosion in our capabilities and in our productivity that has never been seen before in the history of humanity. This is not just my opinion. There are lots of other people who are saying this, and ironically, I feel like I was kind of slow on the realization of this, but I guess relatively I'm still ahead of the curve because there seems to be a lot of people out there that are not picking up that this is going down right now. When this happens, when suddenly things that used to be hard become easy, the only solution for us in order to maintain our value, in order to continue to participate in society in a meaningful and contributory way, will be for us to set our sights higher for goals that used to be so astronomically impossible in our mind that we haven't even thought about even attempting to try to achieve those things in our lifetime. That is what this is going to open up. And I think that is something that a lot of people are struggling with because they keep telling themselves, man, this AI can suddenly do this skill that I've spent the last 10 years training myself to do. What am I supposed to do now? And the answer to that is take your most wild dream, the most absolute, outlandish, ambitious thing that you never thought in a million years you could do yourself, and attempt to do that thing. Because once everyone has access to these tools, you will not be competing with AI. Luckily, as a human being, you will have these at your disposal. Everyone will have these at their disposal. Some people will have more advanced versions of this than others, but at the end of the day, everyone will have at least a version of these kinds of tools, even the ones that are available right now. I mean, you can download and run these on your computer. It's insane the levels of productivity that you can achieve, even with relatively stupid large language models. The things that you're going to be able to achieve are going to be astronomical, which means you need to start setting your ambitions to be astronomical. Because for the first time in history, you as a single person will be able to accomplish things that were never, ever accomplishable by a single person before. And that also means teams, collectives of 50 to 100 people are going to be able to collectively accomplish things that were never possible of teams for 50 to 100 people. People of teams of 5 will achieve things previously impossible to be achieved by teams of 50 or 500. Teams of 500 will be able to achieve things that used to be impossible for teams of 5,000. And I know that there's a lot of people that are like, well, what if I get replaced? It's a big universe out there. I know some people kind of laugh when I say this stuff, but it's true. It's a big universe. We are on a very small dot in a very big space that is almost entirely devoid of any signs of life as far as we're aware. We are just now at a point where we are achieving the ability to travel through space and propagate throughout the universe. This technology that we are witnessing right now is an absolute essential ingredient to facilitating that propagation. I don't think any of us thought that this was going to happen in 2025, but it is. And I would actually say that in many ways that kind of makes us lucky. Although I'm sure some people would want things to stay the same forever. But I would say everyone should be looking at it from that point of view. These are not things for you to compete with. These are tools for you to learn and to use right now, in the same way that a computer was a tool for you to learn and to use. Could you imagine still trying to have a job refusing to learn how to use a computer? Could you imagine going into a job interview today and refusing to use any form of computer? Could you imagine that? AI is going to have the same kind of impact. I would actually even say it will have more of an impact. And it's not going to be all good. It really isn't. In the same way that computers are not going to be all good. People are worried about security when it comes to AI, as am I. When you look at computers, how many security issues have computers introduced into society since they were invented? We have whole new departments of Homeland Security. You look at the NSA. You look at all sorts of cybersecurity degrees that you could get that didn't exist 80 years ago. These were not degrees that existed. These were not departments that existed. And now there are entire branches of the military dedicated entirely to cybersecurity. And that was before AI. There's now going to be entirely new branches dedicated to AI and AI security. And every single one of us needs to be on board with this in order to make sure this does not go south. And the only way to ensure that this does not go south is to be as on top and knowledgeable about this as physically possible. So that is my philosophical perspective, but what about the practical perspective as it relates specifically to game development? I think that there are going to be some things that everyone is going to have to consider when it comes to game development and the value of video games in a post-AI world. As you all know, there have been massive record layoffs throughout the entire game development industry when it comes to entertainment. I actually think that if you want to preserve your career when it comes to game development, I think you need to be looking more into simulation development, which is still technically a game. I mean, all games are a simulation. It's just a matter of how accurate are those simulations. Because when it gets to a point where anybody can just type in the type of game that they want and it will just magically appear, from an entertainment standpoint, the value of games is going to plummet. Because it's going to be so easy for everyone to create games, I think you're going to see open source communities explode. I think you're going to see free games and optional monetization games, which is why I'm really excited about my game, Operation Harsh Doorstop. I feel like I made the right call when it came to making a free moddable game, because this is very much in line with where I still see the industry going. But I think there's going to be an explosion of free content, which is going to make it harder to sell $30, $60 games that create similar kinds of content that, you know, some 16-year-old kid in his basement can type into Roblox and have it just generate. I think that real value when it comes to games is going to be with simulations. When it comes to creating games that are highly realistic in practical ways. There are some games, War Thunder, for instance, who actually sponsors me. They are one of my sponsors, but this video is not sponsored. Maybe it's just because I've been playing their game because they sponsor me. I think about them a bunch. War Thunder is a highly realistic game, an extremely realistic game. Now, some people might say that it has like arcade style gameplay, but that doesn't matter because that isn't the part that is realistic. Maybe the engagements or the settings aren't realistic, but the armor values, the penetration values, the ballistic systems, all of the mechanics that actually go into creating all of those vehicles are so freaking accurate that there are literally Ukrainian tankers saying that they learned how to kill enemy tanks based on War Thunder. And War Thunder also has one of the worst reputations for military documents that are classified being leaked by its own freaking players who work in the military that are so obsessed with realism that they can't stop themselves leaking classified documents in order to make sure that War Thunder is the most realistic game of all time. those kinds of things are going to be things that even with the help of AI are going to be hard to do. Modeling the real world, simulating the real world to a degree of accuracy that allows you to actually make real world decisions based on that simulation, that is always going to be difficult, even with AI. It will be less difficult with AI, and this is why I'm saying we need to set our ambitions higher. But it will still be difficult. It will be more difficult than just generating any random game for entertainment, but it will be something that even AI will struggle to do without assistance from people. And also when it comes to people looking for value, because that's the economy, right? You got buyers and you got sellers. The people who are interested in continuously funding development, those people are going to be significantly more interested in funding human AI collaborative teams that have a sole objective of building highly realistic, reliable, repeatable simulations that allow you to solve real life problems. And I previously brought up a game in my last video called Factorio. Factorio is still a game, but that idea of simulating logistical chains and things like that is going to have value. I am looking forward to seeing games that are going to allow you to simulate how to run a nuclear power plant. I am going to be very interested to see games that help simulate how to manage large amounts of food production. I am going to be interested in seeing games that allow you to simulate real world issues that if those issues are solved, then suddenly our lives become easier. Because, I mean, that's the point, right? If you write an AI, if you build an AI system that has the ability to automatically run a power plant forever, perfectly, indefinitely, then who cares if it replaces the jobs of the people who run that power plant? Because we now have a repeatable solution for essentially infinite energy. Like, seriously. And if you are a game developer, I think one of the most lucrative things that you could be in right now is robotics. I have personally witnessed, and I'm giving this information to you guys away for free. I have been personally witnessing, as part of my degree, software developers pivoting into robotics roles. And you want to know what they do? They go and they buy up abandoned factories. And then they buy what are now fairly cheap robotic systems. And they set up those robots to revitalize that factory and have it start producing goods again. And then their entire job revolves around the maintenance and long-term maintaining of that facility and of those robotic systems. That's literally Factorio. That is literally people turning Factorio into a job. That's where we're going. I mean, look at these systems. These used to cost a year's salary just for one arm. And over the last 5 years, the price of these robotic systems have dropped to like less than the price of your freaking gaming computer. And you're sitting here still watching this video about game development? You should be out there buying these freaking robot arms and setting up your own factory in your house. And all you game developers out there, all of you people who are learning how to code, all of you people who are learning how to interface with systems that require you to make video games, you have the skill sets to do this. You have the exact same skill sets to do this. And before anybody complains about these robot arms replacing factory workers, I want to say this. It's like I said before, we are going to enter a phase of human society where a single person is going to be able to have productivity levels equal to what used to require 50 people. And what that means is this. These systems are not replacing factory workers. What these systems are doing that everyone's going to have access to, these are going to be turning factory workers into entire factories by themselves, which means, and again, going back to what I said, universe is a big place. Scratch that, the world is a big place. Do you have any idea how much of rural America, no, scratch that, how much of the entire world is unpopulated? We sit here complaining about overpopulation all the time, and yet there's huge areas of the entire planet completely devoid of human life because we're all huddled together in these cities. Why are we all huddled into these cities? Because it didn't used to be like that. Back in the day, everybody was way more spread out. But during the Industrial Revolution, when there was no internet, there was no computers, and everybody had to come together to work in these factories in order to get these jobs, everybody migrated into cities. And for whatever reason, it has stayed that way, even though now we're getting to a point where I don't think it has to anymore. You look at this mass migration of people moving to Texas out of LA, out of New York. Why? New York is too expensive. Why? LA is too expensive. Why is it so expensive? Because there's too many people there. Why are there so many people there? I don't think there is a reason why anymore. And I think people are starting to realize that because there's just not a reason to live in crowded spaces anymore, especially when we have this kind of technology. Because now that we're reaching a point in time in human society where people are going to have the ability to create their own factories inside of their own households that will allow them to produce goods that you used to require an entire massive factory space to produce with hundreds of people. Now you can do that as a single person. There's not as much of a reason to stay in a city anymore, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing a mass migration out into more rural areas, which to me, frankly, is extremely exciting. If we take this seriously, if everyone starts learning this technology, if everyone starts applying their game development skill sets to this whole new world of technology, we are going to be able to reverse this city-centric culture and start expanding out where you're going to be able to take your family and whoever else that you want to take and move out of crowded areas into spaces that previously would be inconvenient to move to because you wouldn't be able to easily get the same type of services. You wouldn't be able to easily get the same kind of products. But now with modern technology, you're going to be able to set up your own productivity systems where you can get the exact same services and the exact same products that you yourself can build. You look at the massive explosion of drone-based technology. You look at how drone-based technology has absolutely been revolutionizing logistical systems and how it's probably going to continue revolutionizing logistical systems. It's going to get to a point where you could be out in the middle of freaking nowhere and still have a logistical drone-based network that can get you basically any good that you would normally be able to get from Amazon, UPS, whatever, DHS. And you're not even going to have to pay a premium price because those drone logistical systems are going to be just as efficient as the logistical systems we have now. How does Amazon currently get you products? How does UPS, how does DHS get you products? You have these giant vans that drive up and down streets dropping off packages. Now I'm going to tell you right now, what do you think is more efficient? A big clunky van or a cardboard drone that you can just launch off of a slingshot that can carry essentially the same weight of any package you could order from Amazon anyways? The primary difference here, though, being that this big clunky van, it requires streets, it requires gas stations, it requires all of these mechanics, it requires all of this infrastructure that requires exponentially more upkeep and maintenance than the van itself. But all of these new systems, all of these new completely revolutionary logistical systems, productivity systems, are going to create a level of decentralization and a level of freedom from all of this previously mandatory infrastructure that we're not going to need anymore, that we're going to have opportunities that are going to allow us to expand out and explore new spaces and new ways to live that were never possible before. And that's how everyone should be looking at AI and all of this new technology entering our lives. So when it comes to game developers, when it comes to you all looking for what to do next, Set your ambitions higher. Start focusing on what has value. Start focusing on things that if you were to accomplish that goal that you've set for yourself, whether you use AI or not, you have to ask yourself, if I accomplish this goal, will it make my life better? And will it make the lives of others better in a practical way where it doesn't matter if AI made it or not? That's what you need to be asking yourself. And as long as you always keep that perspective, I think everything's going to be fine. So, with that long rant out of the way, I want to say, if you are interested in this technology, make sure you subscribe. If you want to have a one-on-one call with me, click the link down below. We can talk about your skill set, your interest in AI, and how we can pivot you to get yourself on a good trajectory, even in this crazy future that is going to be very interesting for all of us. If you want to have that call, go down there, book a call, and besides that, I'll see you guys in the next video. There will be more videos that I'm going to put out on Unity Muse and other technology that is absolutely insane. I know a lot of this video was me talking about philosophical stuff, but many of you guys in the comments have been asking these questions, and I felt compelled to answer them and to put this out there so you guys understand my thoughts on the matter and maybe hopefully assuage some of the rampant fearfulness that I see from some of you guys and give you a little bit more of an optimistic approach. But not just be blindly optimistic, explain why I'm optimistic. So hopefully I've achieved that in this video. But either way, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.